corruption has worsened to the point that it is now the dominant issue in a bilateral relationship that would otherwise show far more promise. Like I said, I'd rather be meeting representatives from American corporations and telling them what a great place Liberia is to invest. And the reason why our Treasury Department has designated Minister of State Nathaniel McGill, National Port Authority Director Bill Twawe, and Solicitor General Serenius Cephas is because these individuals have been directly contributing to this problem.
This is one of many concrete steps taken to curb corruption that have earned the United States Ambassador to Liberia, Michael McCarthy, the 2023 Mark Palmer Prize for his commitment to addressing corruption in Liberia. The award was presented on May 9 at Freedom House's annual awards dinner in Washington, D.C. Freedom House is a pro-democracy institution that is founded on the core conviction that freedom flourishes in democratic nations where governments are accountable to their people. In a statement announcing the award, the president of Freedom House, Michael J. Abramowitz said, "We are thrilled to honor Ambassador McCarthy with the Mark Palmer Prize. His dedication to promoting democracy and human rights and addressing corruption in Liberia and beyond is critically important to advancing a more just and equitable world. Democracy and human rights will not advance without such vigorous support from individual diplomats." The Mark Palmer Prize is awarded to diplomats or officials of international organizations for exceptional achievements using bold and effective means to encourage and assist nations and civil society to advance democracy and human rights. It was established in 2011 and named for the late Mark Palmer, who served as U.S. Ambassador to Hungary in 1989 as the Cold War was ending. By honoring diplomats and officials serving in intergovernmental institutions who have imaginatively and often courageously worked to advance democracy, the Palmer Prize provides models for others in the profession to emulate and by so doing, plays a significant role in the international democracy movement. The Mark Palmer Prize is made possible through the generosity of the Mark and Sushma Palmer Legacy Fund, established by Sushma Palmer in loving memory of her late husband. I am honored to accept this prestigious award, noting how impactfully Ambassador Palmer's legacy has advanced diplomacy, democracy, and human rights for countless communities around the world, said Ambassador McCarthy. I believe rampant corruption is both an abuse of human rights and a threat to democracy. Fighting corruption is a foreign policy priority shared across the aisle and between our three branches of government. I am honored to accept this prestigious award, but I do so on behalf of the vast majority of Liberians who hold out for a future in which the scourge of corruption is defeated. Freedom House underlined that Ambassador McCarthy has distinguished himself through his dedication to promoting peaceful dialogue among diverse stakeholders in Liberia to advance a unified development agenda for the country after years of civil conflict. Ambassador McCarthy's team, Freedom House noted, put the full force of the U.S. government behind a coalition of domestic and international groups holding frequent meetings with the National Elections Commission, civil society organizations, the Press Union of Liberia, religious and traditional leaders, opposition parties, and the current government that helped to ensure the security and legitimacy of Liberia's 2021 by-elections. It added that Ambassador McCarthy has consistently called out high-profile Liberian businesses and elites over corrupt practices, abuse of public trust, and human rights abuses, and has helped ensure the imposition of Global Magnitsky sanctions on corrupt leaders. He also called for the terms of Liberia's Truth and Reconciliation Commission (TRC) report to be adhered to, specifically the establishment of a War and Economic Crimes Court for Liberia, and organized U.S. Ambassador for War Crimes Beth Van Schaack's visit to the country, the institution added. Through his continuous support and engagement with civil society, media, and traditional and religious communities, Ambassador McCarthy has helped enhance civic engagement in Liberia and provided a platform for key stakeholders to debate and address issues that directly affect them, said Sushma Palmer, Freedom House trustee and chair of the Mark Palmer Prize Committee. We are proud to award Ambassador McCarthy with this year's Mark Palmer Prize. It came after Ambassador McCarthy's bold criticism of the Liberian government officials, accusing them of buttering their own bread and feathering their own nests while underfunding hospitals and service centers, leaving rural citizens destitute. In a statement he released at the completion of his tour of the counties, the U.S. diplomat said he was startled and deeply troubled to encounter multiple county hospitals that received not one penny of what they were promised in the 2022 budget. He said, "Lest you think this is the work of one political party, that notion was quickly dispelled by Liberians I talked to. The blocking of resources is so complete that it must be institutional, and the lack of any alarm being raised indicates a syndicate involving players at the legislature, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Internal Affairs." The outspoken ambassador has also faced stern criticism from Liberian authorities. In a BBC interview, the U.S. diplomat said he hopes his recent statement on the shortcomings of accountability in Liberia and the vivid neglect of rural Liberians would encourage the population to make a strong decision against corruption in the country. Ambassador McCarthy has served as the U.S. ambassador to Liberia since January 2021. He has held various positions in other U.S. embassies in Africa, including Eritrea, South Sudan, and South Africa. But corruption is not a Liberia problem. According to Transparency International's 2022 Corruption Perceptions Index, 90% of sub-Saharan African countries scored less than 50 out of 100, and the UN Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, estimates that Africa loses about $88.6 billion, or 3.7% of its gross domestic product, GDP, annually in illicit financial flows. Young people are clearly aware that corruption is perhaps Africa's number one problem. An Africa Youth Survey in 2022 found out that Africa's youths believe that the creation of new, well-paying jobs and reducing government corruption should be the continent's two leading priorities. Therefore, authoritative voices of high-ranking officials like Ambassador McCarthy have potential to raise awareness on the ills of corruption in Africa and create conditions for transparent governance and better service delivery to take root in Africa.